afternoon and welcome to Fort Lee for today's matchup between the visiting Park Ridge Owls and your Fort Lee Bridgmen. Now for today's starting lineups. First for the visiting Owls. Number 4, Anika Kivisek. Number 5, Shannon Broderick. Number 21, Mary Crafty. Number 25, Ali Shenlugian. And number 34, Juliana Barros. Head coach, Ryan Dennis. And now the starting lineup for your Fort Lee Bridgmen. Number 1, Layla Jones. Number 2, Janelle Lewis. Number 5, Catalina Gill. Number 22, Sophia Pagan. And number 23, Olivia Hosman. Head coach, Kelly Lane. At this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back here to East Gymnasium at Fort Lee High School as we're getting set for another edition of Bridgman Girls Basketball. As today, the visiting Park Ridge Owls have come calling to take on the Fort Lee Bridgmen. Park Ridge 12-10 on the season, Fort Lee 18-4 overall. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Long, joined alongside by our camera operator, Renee Matisich, and our producer, Dimitri Nanis. We're so glad that he could join us for this home game here between Fort Lee and Park Ridge. This was a late addition to the schedule. Both teams trying to garner as many power points as possible before the playoff cutoff this Saturday night. Park Ridge out of the NJIC. Fort Lee representing the Big North Conference. Park Ridge will be in their road maroon. Fort Lee in their home white. We'll have Janelle Lewis doing the opening jump here, as Ellis Evazoglu is not available for today's game. And the point guard nearly won the tip, and it's deflected last touch out of bounds off of Park Ridge last, so it will be possession for Fort Lee. Ryan Dennis is the head coach for the Owls of Park Ridge, 12-10 on the season. Fort Lee is led by Kelly Lane in her first season, 18-4 overall record for the former standout at Ridgefield Park. Catalina Gill quickly getting it inside. Layla Jones give and go to Olivia Hausman getting the start here today for the Bridgmen. Fouled her own miss with the offensive rebound. Gill cutting through the heart of the defense, and Catalina Gill will get the scoring going here with the first made basket of the game. 2-0 lead for Fort Lee. They come in having won 2 in a row. They've surpassed already the 17 wins of the legendary team from a couple of seasons ago that went to the sectional final. for Fort Lee. This is one of the best seasons in program history, and they're looking to keep it going. That shot, a runner, no good off the glass, rebounded by Sophia Pagan. Pagan, the senior, who has done a little bit of everything. There's a three missed by Janelle Lewis. Lewis, one of the leading scorers in all of New Jersey high school basketball, averages just under 26 points per game. That ball is tipped away, and the rebound is secured underneath by Annika Kivasik. Number 4. Park Ridge coming in off a loss their last time out against Paramus, 48-44 in the Bergen Invitational Tournament. So that goes out of bounds, but it's going to be last touch off of Fort Lee. So possession's going to stay with Park Ridge. Inbound. Now ball is loose, taken away by Jones. Jones with a numbers advantage, but that was a miscue for her. A rare instance that time of a turnover. As she threw that one out of bounds, trying to lead Janelle Lewis just a little too much. As that won't count as a steal, as it's going to be out of bounds. Last touch off of Fort Lee. Last meeting between these two sides, February 5th of last year, 2022, in the Bergen Invitational Tournament. Park Ridge won that meeting 37-27. Much different Bridgman team that they're playing this season. With a cutter inside, Park Ridge with the extra pass. Layup attempt no good. Follow-up. Well, it looked like it was going to be a clean block, but they're going to rule that Pagan got the defender and got the attacking player with the body. So Pagan will be called for the foul. That will send Abigail McManus now to the line to shoot two. This junior now at the foul line will get Park Ridge on the board with her first foul shot of the game. McManus had 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks in the loss against Paramus. Last time out for Park Ridge, goes 2 for 2 at the line to tie the game up at 2-2. Lewis barking out the instructions for her teammate. Getting it to Sophia Pagan at the foul line. Pagan tried to do a little too much, moved her pivot foot, and that will lead to the turnover on the play as she was trying to fake her defender and get a little access up top. Correction, it was Abigail McManus, yes. So another foul and another foul shot opportunity here for Park Ridge. First foul shot is no good that time by Ali Shenlugian. Shenlugian, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists in the loss against Paramus. Shenlugian missing a pair, and the rebound just trickled off the fingertips of Pagan, so that's going to give new life here for Park Ridge here in this offensive possession with 5:40 left to go in the first quarter. 2-2 your score. Quick inbound. McManus had that one ricochet off the bottom of the backboard. Now Lewis in the open floor. This is where she's dangerous. Pull-up jumper from around 15 feet out. No good. Offensive rebound again for the Bridgmen. Lewis had it nearly poked away. Craffey was the one who was trying to produce the steal. Hausman up top to Catalina Gill. Reversing it now. Layla Jones, step back three. Too long. Pagan tried a one-handed rebound. Comes out to space now to McManus. McManus trying to get it away. Stolen away once again by Fort Lee. Up and down frantic action here. Pull up three. No good by Lewis. Rebounded underneath by Kivasik. Fort Lee getting a couple of good shooting opportunities, just have not been able to produce on those open shot lanes. Park Ridge tied up here at 2-2. They've had opportunities to take the lead themselves. Kivasik dumping it down low to her teammate. Layup, no good. Rattled in and out there for Juliana Barros. Lewis, through the midst of the defense, drew the contact as she was going up for the shot. That'll stop play with 4:31 left to go in the first. And a chance for Fort Lee to recover the lead here with leading scorer Janelle Lewis heading to the line to shoot two. Lewis had 12 points, 4 assists, 4 steals in the last game. And she'll rattle that one in and out. Lewis has had 17 games this season where she has scored 20 or more points. Lewis will miss on a pair, and that'll deflect. Last touch off of Park Ridge. So not great foul shooting from either team so far in this game. Hausman will trigger the restart. Throws it into Pagan. Back to Olivia Hausman on the baseline. And Hausman sinks home her first made shot of the game to give Fort Lee back the advantage at 4-2. Hausman is known for her shooting ability, certainly behind the three-point arc. That time the mid-range jumper fell. Fort Lee known for their aggressive on-ball defense this season. And that time the post player in Kivisic didn't know how open she actually was. Park Ridge has the height advantage here this afternoon. Runner across the lane and banking that one home. Number 25, Ali Shenlugian. Used the backboard to find her opportunity there to level the score at 4-4. As Fort Lee tries to spread the floor, here's Catalina Gill. Gill over the far side. Three-pointer. Lewis connects from downtown. Janelle Lewis. That's a misplay by Park Ridge. Scouting report has to be that she's the most dangerous person on the floor at all times, as Catalina Gill gets called for the foul from behind. Lewis was left wide open in that short corner on the far side, and Lewis cans her first three of the game. So Lewis now has 3 points. Fort Lee with their largest advantage at 3, 7-4. 3:23 left to go here in the first quarter of action. Spotting up from straight away. Just a little too long, that opportunity. For Ashley McManus, number 5, who's come into the game. A 7-4 lead now for Fort Lee. Again, a big game, playoff seeding-wise, potentially for both sides. Layla Jones, the left-hand dribble. Gets it back up top to Lewis. Lewis carving her way right through the heart of the defense and banks it home. 5 straight points now for Janelle Lewis. 9-4 lead for Fort Lee. She's got her on her own personal 5-0 run. Fort Lee tried to gamble there, but that time actually rushing the shot was Abigail McManus. Went out of bounds, last touch off of the Owls, so possession will go back over to Fort Lee. Park Ridge coming into today's game would be the number 3 seed in the North 1 Group 1 sectional playoffs, while Fort Lee right now is looking at the number 4 seed in North 2 Group 3, but not out of the realm of possibility. The Bridgemen possibly climbing as high as number 2. You get the number 2 seed, you're going to be playing at home for the majority of the tournament. 3 by Gill, no good. Pagan muscled her way with a shot back up, no good. Another offensive rebound for Hausman. Here's Catalina Gill right across the lane. She got hacked on her way up. And great work on the offensive glass here so far this afternoon in the first quarter by Fort Lee, getting second and third opportunities for their offense. Catalina Gill will cash in after this timeout on the floor with 2:16 left to go, as she will be awaiting her chances at the foul line, trying to extend this 5-0 run for Fort Lee, as the Bridgemen lead the Owls by a score of 9-4. Park Ridge has won their last 2 meetings with the Bridgemen and haven't lost to Fort Lee since 2016. This season, Park Ridge has gone 10-6 against conference opponents in the NJIC, but only 2-4 against non-conference opponents. Last win for Fort Lee against Park Ridge, you have to go back to December 29th, 2016. It was a 30-9 win that day for the Bridgemen. Fort Lee has already clinched the Big North American Division title. They clinched that the last time out. Conference play is Catalina Gill, who's normally a sure-handed foul shooter. Too strong on that first offering. Fort Lee 0 for 3 at the line in the beginning of this game. Gill missing a pair. So Fort Lee normally having 2 of their best foul shooters at the line to begin this game, Gill and Lewis, and each came away 0 for 2. So the lead remains 5, 9-4, Fort Lee on top. Park Ridge playing it back up top. As Barros was giving it to her teammate on the baseline. Good left-hand floater. And the finish by Mary Craffey. Craffey had 6 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists in the loss against Paramus. This team does not score that many points, 41 points per game, compared to Fort Lee, who averages 60 points per game. This is more at Park Ridge's pace, though, a slow, methodical pace, but a nice drive to the hoop there by Sophia Pagan. Put her shoulder down and willed her way past the defense. Good strip of the ball there. That was a clean strip. It's going to be possession arrow, keeping it here for Park Ridge with 11-6 the lead for Fort Lee. Only 1:22 left to go in the first quarter of action. Quick inbound inside, but the shot was left short by Ashley McManus. Jones in the open floor, giving it off to Lewis. Lewis ran into a brick wall and then was called for the travel. She ran right into Annika Kivasik, who stood her ground, and Lewis got called for the travel. So the violation will give it back to Park Ridge. Their defense has been keeping them in this game despite the offense only producing 6 points so far. Trying to post up down low. Hausman doing her best to try to shut it off. Kivasik was open but left the shot short on the far side. That was good look, though, for the Owls. Layla Jones, without her teammates there, just set and fired, and the three no good. Fort Lee has only knocked in 1 3 so far in this game. That's one of their strengths as a team this year. Their accuracy from deep. Good pick up top. Park Ridge a little out of control across the middle of the floor, and that eventually leads to the steal. There was an opportunity there for Shen Lugian. She could not get it off, and a blocking foul is whistled on the floor. Will it be also deemed to be in the act of shooting, as Coach Ryan Dennis was clearly frustrated at what that foul was. They will deem it to be on the floor, not in the act of shooting. So it's going to be 3 team fouls apiece for both teams here in the first quarter. Gill going top side, tries the runner, across the lane, no good. Loose ball rebound, caromed into the hands of Ashley McManus. Here comes Park Ridge down by 5, late here in the first quarter. McManus handing it off. Shanlugian handed it off to McManus. Trying to get it back to Shanlugian. There's going to be a reach-in foul against Lewis. 4th team foul of the quarter here for Fort Lee in the first with 5.3 seconds left to go. So Janelle Lewis picks up the personal. Park Ridge looking for a chance to pull a little closer here just before the end of the quarter. Good inbounds, and the shot just tipped off the rim, no good. And it's going to be last touch out of bounds off of Abigail McManus. She had great positioning underneath the hoop and tried that in-tight shot, but just didn't have enough of the angle as it caroms off the side of the rim. And that will do it for the first quarter of play, with Fort Lee on top of Park Ridge by a score of 11-6. Not a lot of shots made, a lot of swarming defense. And the Owls will trail by 5 as we head to the start of the second quarter. You're watching all the action here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. (11-6) the advantage here for Fort Lee after the first 8 minutes of action here inside East Gymnasium. Glad that you could join us on YouTube as Fort Lee taking on Park Ridge in this out-of-conference showdown. I'm Dan Long, joined alongside by Renee Matisich and Dimitri Nanis. Glad that you could join us on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. Catalina Gill starts off the second quarter with a three-point attempt. No good. And it's going to be a loose ball tie-up. And possession will go back over to Park Ridge. Looking for their 13th win of the season, and this could do wonders for them if they come on the road and pull away with this victory. They are behind only Cresskill and Saddlebrook in the North 1 Group 1 PowerPoint rankings, so they still have a chance at a top overall seed in the sectional playoffs. Stripped on the way up and out of bounds. It went off of Fort Lee last as Abigail McManus was trying to power herself inside. Only 3 made shots in the entire first quarter for Park Ridge, yet they're only down by 5. Looks like Fort Lee was going to be venturing out of their own end, but it was stolen back. Missed opportunity, though, for Park Ridge. Up top to Layla Jones, now Lewis, who was feeding her teammate before, now a blocking foul against Park Ridge, as that foul will go against Shenlugian. So both teams now have been whistled for 4 fouls apiece so far here in the first half. Fort Lee only a couple of points behind Milburn for the number 3 overall seed, and not out of the realm of possibilities, possibly tracking down Chatham for the number 2 seed in the North 2 Group 3 playoff bracket. No good. Rebound inside by Pagan. Pagan so physical, such a competitor, just missed that opportunity on a follow-up on her initial shot attempt. Outing defense, but tipped off the hands of Lewis last, as Abigail McManus was getting swamped from both sides by Jones and Lewis. Good ball movement here for Park Ridge, all on the perimeter, though. Fall away shot by Shenlugian, no good. Pagan tries to get the hand on it, but again, one-handed rebound, not able to allow her to fully possess it. Inside, good ball movement on the far side block, but again, an in-tight shot missed by Park Ridge. Owls trying to attack the rim again. A third opportunity also doesn't fall. A couple of outstanding looks close to the basket by Abigail McManus, and she's frustrated. She just can't get it to go. It remains 11-6. Fort Lee on top. Lewis. It's called for steps on the play. Lewis has been held in check. 5 points already in this game, but only 5 for the player that averages 25.6 per contest. Gill getting her hand in the passing lane, deflects that one out of bounds. Fort Lee, to Park Ridge's credit, has not been able to get out in transition for easy transition layups or threes. Park Ridge has always been able to get back and play hard-nosed defense. They only allow 36 points per game to opponents, so this is in their usual form. A steal produced by Lewis. Here's a transition opportunity, and she caps it in with the easy 2. So just as I mentioned, Park Ridge was looking good, keeping those transition opportunities away from Fort Lee. They gave it up right away. Three-pointer no good. Tipped away. Good trail defensive work by Jones to tip it out of the hands of Kivisic. Catalina Gill avoids the charge and goes coast to coast for the lay-in. Gill with 4 points here in the first half. Down low to Kivisic. And there's a much-needed basket for Park Ridge. Kivisic getting her first 2 points of the afternoon. 18-8 lead now for Fort Lee after the three was knocked in just moments ago. As the Bridgmen getting it back up top to Olivia Hausman. Here's Lewis again, setting and firing from deep. As now Fort Lee is starting to find that shooting form. 21-8, the lead swells as we reach the midway point of this first half of play. Under 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter. Park Ridge looking for a distant shot. No good that time. Off the hands of Mary Craffey as that goes out of bounds. Owls only scoring 2 points so far here in the second quarter of play. Fort Lee extending their defense here well outside the perimeter. Gill watching as well as Jones up top in the midst of their zone. Shenlugian outlets the pass, quick ball movement inside. Pagan with the block. Blocks it out to space. Here's Lewis one-on-one, just sidestep the defender. As Janelle Lewis is starting to roll and take over this game. Largest lead of the game now for the Bridgmen. It's up to 23-8 with 3:11 left to go in the second. Stick around, we'll be back right after this timeout as Fort Lee starting to get in their offensive groove after being held to only 11 points in the entire first quarter. Janelle Lewis has erupted here in the second quarter. She has knocked down a pair of threes. She has already produced 10 points in the second quarter alone. She's got a game-high 15 here in the first half. She has scored 15 of Fort Lee's 23 points on the afternoon. And Fort Lee now well in front by 15, their largest lead of the game, as the Owls try to look for some answers on the offensive side of the floor. That's where it's really hurt them. Defensively, they've done enough to keep themselves close to Fort Lee, but offensively, it's been really difficult for them to find and convert when given those opportunities against this Fort Lee defense that smothers opponents to under 40 points a game. Pagan races and tracks down the rebound, and it's going to be touched last out of bounds off of Mary Craffey and Park Ridge. So possession will go back over to the Bridgmen. Lewis breaks the trap herself. Lewis, look at that blazing speed. No one can stay with her. She just sprinted right to the hoop. 17 points now for Janelle Lewis. So after being held to only 5 points in the first quarter, Lewis has completely taken over this game. Pagan is working on possibly 10 rebounds in this first half alone. Here's Lewis with a defender right in front of her. No good. Pagan with another rebound and almost banked it in. Rebounded underneath by Roxanne Perez, who's coming to the game, but she got it cleanly blocked away from her. Coming up on the final 2 minutes of the first half, 25-8. Fort Lee on top. Give and go look, and not able to convert inside. Good block from behind. Fort Lee getting a piece of it. There's Janelle Lewis again trying to sidestep a defender, and got that poked away, though, this time. Where will the offense come from for the Owls? They're looking and trying to find someone inside. Pass cross court to McManus. Now back around the middle. Shenlugian's runner, no good. Fouls her own miss, and she banks it in. Adley Shenlugian now with 4 points in the first half. Lead is back to 15 as we come up on the final 90 seconds of the first half of action. Jones will hand it off to Janelle Lewis. Lewis with more points than the opponent's total so far here in the first half. Lewis, step back three. Good box out underneath by Kivisic, keeping Perez off the offensive glass. Park Ridge trying to grow with a little momentum on its side here if they can convert on this possession as well. Raffy was trying to get it down low. Kivisic reversing it to the far side, launching and firing, and swishing home the three is Shen Lugian. She's on a personal 5-0 run. She's up to 7 points in the half. First made three of the game for Park Ridge. The deficit is down to 12. It was as high as 17. Across the lane, Layla Jones, runner, trying to bank it home, no good. Another box out and a rebound here for Park Ridge. They want to keep the good times going here near the end of the second quarter. They're on a 5-0 run. Raffy looks into the corner. Baseline jumper, too long. Offensive rebound on the far side, though. Gill tries to come away with it. Ball's loose on the deck. Collision ensues, and it's going to be touched last by Park Ridge. Possession going back over to Fort Lee with only 14.2 seconds left to go in our first half of action. (25-13), Fort Lee in front. Lewis uncorks another three ball. Off the back rim, no good. Last touch out of bounds. It's going to be possession for Fort Lee, but the buzzer sounds anyway. And the Bridgemen will take a 25-13 lead into halftime here inside East Gymnasium, where they are looking to once again protect this house and in the process win their 9th home game of the season, and this the 12th home game of the year for the Fort Lee Bridgemen. So Fort Lee on top of Park Ridge 25-13 at the break. Stick around as we'll be back with all the second half action coming up, courtesy of the Fort Lee Athletics Department here on YouTube. Welcome back, everybody, inside East Gymnasium here at Fort Lee as we're moments away for the resumption of play and the start of the second half. Fort Lee on top of Park Ridge by a score of 25-13. It was a low-scoring first quarter of play between both sides. They both combined for only 17 total points. Fort Lee led 11-6 after one. Then Fort Lee started to get in gear offensively, and that was really because of Janelle Lewis. Lewis was outstanding in that second quarter. She managed to produce 12 of her team's 14 points in the second quarter. She's got a game-high 17 at the break. They outscored Park Ridge 14-7. Park Ridge got going there late in the quarter to pull back to within 25-13. Taking a look at the stats from the first half of play, Ali Shenlugian leading scorer for the Owls with a game-high 7. Abigail McManus, Mary Craffey, and Annika Kivisick, each with 2 points apiece. For Fort Lee, Janelle Lewis scoring 17 of her team's 25 points. Catalina Gill with 4, Sophia Pagan and Olivia Hausman with 2 points each. Fort Lee will start with the ball to begin the second half. They are in the home white, Park Ridge defending in their road maroon. Pagan on the baseline trying to leave it off for Gill, but had that tipped away and stolen. So a turnover produced by the Owls to start off the second half as they look to rally here. Janelle Lewis got in the passing lane, produced the steal, gets the easy 2 on the left-hand layup. 19 points now for Janelle. 27-13 the lead for Fort Lee. 30 seconds into the start of the second half. It's give and go down low, extra pass leading to the wide open look and the bank shot finish. Nice extra pass there from Abigail McManus to Juliana Barros. Barros getting her first 2 points of the game. Jones handing it off to Lewis, now up top to Gill. Gill's an adept three-point shooter. We saw that in person a couple times this season, including knocking down 5 threes against Immaculate Conception of Lodi. Sophia Pagan off balance, no good on the initial shot attempt, trying to crash the offensive glass. Kept off the glass, though, by the Owls. Here comes Shenlugian in the open floor, trying to bounce pass, get it to her teammate, but that time the shot was missed by Abigail McManus, but a tie-up ensued underneath after both teams trying to fight for that ensuing rebound. Possession arrow will keep it here with Park Ridge. Fort Lee looking for their 19th win of the season. Shenlugian from straight away cans another 3. She was the one who went on a personal 5-0 run to end the second quarter and made this deficit down to 12. Now the deficit is down to single digits. It's a 9-point advantage. Shenlugian now with a game-high 10 for Park Ridge. Barros trying to defend against Lewis. Lewis cutting across the middle of the lane, got it blocked. Here comes Park Ridge. Owls with a little momentum on their side now, trying to claw their way back in this game. Another shot from distance, this time an air ball, but it's caught underneath by Barros. Another shot for Shenlugian. Distance no good. Rebounded underneath by Pagan. And it's going to be a tie-up and loose ball. Possession arrow will favor Fort Lee this time, with 5:43 left to go in the third. Layla Jones has yet to score in this game. Hands it off for Lewis. Lewis across the lane. Now to Gill. Back to Lewis, has the screen in front of her. Over to Hausman on the far side. Lewis did a good head and shoulders fake. Now gets it to Pagan. Pagan got hit on her way up, and that's going to be deemed in the act of shooting, and that will send Sophia Pagan to the line, shooting a pair with 5:18 left to go in the third. Coach Ryan Dennis not happy with that call. Pagan will knock down the first foul shot, giving her 3 points in the afternoon. Pagan had 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in the win against Cliffside Park in the last game for Fort Lee. They've had 5 days off. They look fresh 4 points now for Sophia after going 2 for 2 that trip at the line. 29-18. 11-point advantage here for the Bridgmen. Fort Lee moving closer and closer to a potential 20-win season. Unbelievable. And the debut for Kelly Lane as the new head coach here at Fort Lee. A season ago, Fort Lee had only 10 wins. But the additions of Janelle Lewis and Layla Jones have played a huge factor in this team's success. Catalina Gill looking for the loose ball. Got it. And then the timeout is also granted to Coach Lane, as possession will be saved and given over to Fort Lee with 4:43 left to go in the third quarter. The Bridgmen on top by a score of 29-18. Again, Fort Lee coming into this one 4th in power points in North 2 Group 3. Randolph sits atop the group, 589 points. Doesn't look like they're going to be caught, so Randolph is going to be the team with a home court advantage throughout the course of the playoffs. Who will be on the opposite side of the bracket from them? That's still in doubt. Number 2 seed Chatham, 472 points. Milburn, 452. Fort Lee, 445. So Fort Lee keeps on producing the wins before Saturday's cutoff. They will put themselves in a great position to maybe garner that number 2 overall seed and play a couple of rounds here at home. Layla Jones with a high arcing 3 in the far corner, short. Shenlugian picked up by Jones. Over to the near side, goes to Abigail McManus, now back to Shenlugian. Caffey across the lane, contested shot, rebound by Lewis. Lewis, who's now the leading rebounder per game for Fort Lee. There's Lewis behind the back, transition 3, no good. Park Ridge pushing around the perimeter. Shenlugian for 3, no good. Caroms out into the corner, and Layla Jones tracks it down. Jones tries to go coast to coast, switches to the left hand, but missed on the layup. Jones still scoreless in this game. Shenlugian going all the way right into the contact, no call. And Shenlugian now up to 12 points in this game for Park Ridge. Back to only a 9-point lead for Fort Lee, 29-20. As the Owls starting to pull closer. Here's a high-range 3, air ball by Jones, rebounded by Pagan. Now Catalina Gill sets and fires, rattled in and out. Ball loose again to Houseman. Houseman, 3rd time's the charm. Offensive rebounds are killing Park Ridge here this afternoon, 31-20. Fort Lee once again extending their lead. Coming up on 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Corner, Shenlugian sets and fires, airmails that one. Teammate could not save it inbounds as Barros tried to track it down. Last touch by her out of bounds will be possession back over to the Bridgmen. Coming in off wins, lopsided wins against Ridgefield Park 59-22 and Cliffside Park 59-35. This is a much closer game as we were expecting when these two teams decided to schedule one another. Lewis, what a dribble drive, just cut right past the defense. Janelle Lewis with 21 points, a game-high 21. She just operates at a speed that no one else plays at. When she gets a step on her defender, it's daylights. Shenlugian pulls up from 15. Lewis with the rebound. Lewis looks to break out and run. Outlets it up the floor to Layla Jones. Jones to find Houseman. Houseman could not bank it home, though. Shenlugian picked up by Jones. As once again, the Fort Lee defense hustling their way back down the floor. Barros with a right-hand hook, no good. Rebounded underneath, though, by Ashley McManus. Barros kicking around the side. Kivisic, here's a long-range 3, almost banked in by McManus, and then the follow-up attempt again for Park Ridge. Abigail McManus only held to 2 points so far in this game, nearly banked in the 3. And now Ashley McManus will head to the line to shoot 2. 33-20, the lead with 1:49 left to go here in the third. First foul shot is nailed. Roxanne Perez coming in. It was the first foul of the second half for Fort Lee. Each team has fouled only once apiece. Second foul shot is left short. Rebounded by Lewis. Jones. Floater, and now finally on the board. Layla Jones, who averages just under 12 points per game, getting through that scoreless start. 14-point lead now for Fort Lee. Lewis with Velcro hands steals that one away. Sidesteps the defender. Shot just a little too wide of the mark as Shenlugian was standing her ground. Shenlugian, top of the key. Fort Lee's bench trying to key in the defense on their specific defensive assignments, knowing whenever Shenlugian has it where the shooter is. Gill getting in the passing lane. Ball's loose on the deck. Layla Jones coming from behind, but gets called for the foul, as she was trying to slap down on the loose ball and produce another steal. Second team foul against Fort Lee here in the second half. 54.2 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Thanks for joining us on this Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. Another girls basketball contest here at East Gymnasium, where Fort Lee has been enjoying that home court advantage this year. What a tap out there. Jones going to Lewis. Lewis in the blink of an eye sidestepped, but missed the layup on the far side, but has the resilience to follow her miss and lay it in. 23 points for Lewis. Fort Lee 8-3 at home this season. Started 0-2. Have won 8 out of their last 9 here at home. Sophia Pagan came in for the loose ball tie-up. Arrow will keep the possession here. 37-21 advantage for Fort Lee, up by 16. Park Ridge had fought and drawn a little closer, but now Fort Lee starting to widen the gap again. Shenlugian, hard contested shot, rebounded underneath by Lewis. Lewis again with a breakout. 5 seconds on the clock. Lewis going coast to coast, tries to kick it out to Jones and does. Jones beats the buzzer, swishes home the three. She scores 5 points there at the end of the third quarter, and Fort Lee will now have their largest lead of the ball game at 40-21 after 3 quarters of play. Layla Jones, off the assist from Janelle Lewis, swishes home her first made 3 of the ball game. Stick around as we'll be back for the start of the fourth quarter, as Fort Lee trying to power their way to their 19th win of the season. What a way to end that quarter for the Bridgemen. A rebound by Janelle Lewis, who again averages 4.5 rebounds per game. She quickly got down the floor, ventured close to the rim, and instead of going up for the shot, patted it out to her teammate. And Layla Jones, who has not had the outside shooting touch that she normally enjoys each game, she was able to have that rainbow three fall, her 37th made 3 of the season. And Fort Lee, outscoring Park Ridge 15-8 in that third quarter, have now stretched their lead to the largest lead of the game, 40-21, a 19-point margin here at home. Dan Long, Renee Matisich, Dimitri Nanis, thanks for joining us for some more Fort Lee basketball. Girls trying to follow the big win yesterday that we broadcast here at East Gym yesterday afternoon by the boys team. They got a big win for the PowerPoints. Girls trying to do the very same, and Shenlugian starts off with the basket to begin the fourth quarter after the steal was produced. Park Ridge knows they have to extend their defense now, as time is not on their side, down by 17. Lewis sensing the defender coming out to her. Dribbles left, then right, then left, back to the left hand with a layup, but missed it at the rim. Shenlugian is trying to do everything possible in her own power to keep her team in this game. Just missed on the layup. She's got a game-high 14 for Park Ridge. As Lewis will slow it down as we approach the first minute of play gone by here in the fourth, 40-23. They were looking for Pagan in the far block, couldn't get it to her. Shenlugian going up for the layup. She's got 16 now for Park Ridge. First 4 points of the fourth quarter here for the Owls. So again, they're trying to fight their way back in this game after they trailed by as many as 19 after that 3 at the buzzer by Layla Jones to end the third. Catalina Gill will inbound it directly at midcourt in front of the scorer's table. Lewis finding Hausman. She was lurking underneath, but then the size of Kivisic got in her way. Missed on the short shot. And there's another scoop layup by Shenlugian. 6 straight points for Park Ridge. They're on a 6-0 spurt. And the lead is down to 13, 40-27. Lewis will take it herself, try to dish it off in the last second to Pagan, but a foul's going to be whistled against the visitors. That'll be the third team foul against the Owls, foul on the floor, so it's going to be an inbound upcoming for the Bridgemen. Pass up top to Lewis. Lewis sets in fire from deep and cans the three. That's a big silencer there for Janelle Lewis. Her 4th made 3 of the game. She now currently has 26 points in this contest. Shenlugian looks to answer as that caroms out into the far corner. Lewis tracks it down, goes through 3 different defenders, weaves her way right to the rim, and then got stripped at the last moment by Kivisic and out of bounds. 5:49 remaining. 43-27. Trying to inbound it to Perez. Got it stripped away. Shenlugian goes to the right side for the layup. Shenlugian has been impressive here. 20 points now for number 25 in maroon. 43-29. She's got 20. 26 for Lewis in whites for Fort Lee. 2 of the standard bearers here for their sides. Cross court to Hausman. Hausman pulls up. Too strong. Pagan tips it out into the far corner, but no teammate was there to help her out. Fort Lee's got to try to bottle up Shenlugian, who's now just taken it upon herself to be the total offense. Barros underneath. Carved out the space. And every time that you think that maybe Fort Lee has done enough to get some necessary breathing room, credit the play of Park Ridge to coming back here to fight. 43-31. The lead is down to 12. Lewis right to the rim, left it short. Trying to fight for the loose ball. She gets it. Lewis might be working on close to a double-double herself here today. She has been a rebounding machine despite being the smallest player on the floor. Lewis got contacted as she unleashed the 3. No call. Rebound, though, by Abigail McManus. McManus in the open floor. Here's a numbers opportunity, and there's the basket, and a timeout's going to be taken after the main shot by Kivisic. And the 19-point lead has been trimmed down to 10. 43-33 with 4:21 left to go here in the fourth quarter. This one is far from over the way that Park Ridge has started to attack in transition, and also those extra passes finding open players underneath the rim have the Owls believing in a heroic comeback effort here on the road. Road ahead for both teams. Park Ridge will head back home on February 9th to host Elmwood Park before they will also have home games to finish off their regular season against Riverdale and Eastern Christian. Fort Lee will be traveling to Dwight Morrow for their final league game of the season on February 9th. They'll next be in action here at East Gym on February 14th. On Valentine's against Ramsey, we'll be bringing you all the sights and sounds on our Fort Lee broadcast that evening, 7 p.m. start time here inside East Gymnasium before Fort Lee will finish off their season in the regular season on the road at Pascack Valley on February 16th. Certainly when Layla Jones knocked in that buzzer beater 3 to make it a 19-point lead, you thought that maybe Fort Lee would then be coasting their way to the win. But Ali Shenlugian and company have thought better of that. They are fighting into the last moment here. Lead is down to 10, 43-33. Catalina Gill will bring it up the floor, get it to Pagan. Sophia going hard to the rim, banks it in! Nice angle play there. Nobody was stopping the ball, and Pagan just easily made her way to the rim for the bank shot finish. 6 points now for the senior. Another long-range 3, no good. Caromed off into the corner. Lewis with a rebound, got bumped on that far sideline, right in front of the Park Ridge sideline. Fourth team foul against the Owls. As Gill will be asked to do the inbounding. Catalina Gill with 4 points in this game. Gets it to Olivia Hausman. Hausman now over to Lewis. She got bumped hard there by Shenlugian, who gave the shoulder as she was trying to force the steal. That is the 5th team foul. So Park Ridge has only one more foul to give before then on the 7th team foul would result in a single bonus. And Fort Lee turns it over as Pagan was trying to save it inbounds. So possession will go back over to the Owls. 45-33, still 3:44 left to go. Park Ridge was bottled up for only 13 points in the first half. They started to come alive here. Their best quarter of the game is here in the 4th. Already have 12 points on the board. Across the middle of the lane, stolen away by Catalina Gill. Up top to Janelle Lewis. As head coach Kelly Lane tells her star to back it out, run a little clock here. Time is on the side of Fort Lee, but they fumbled that one out of bounds. But they're going to say last touch, though, off of Park Ridge in the corner. As Hausman couldn't field it cleanly, but it's because it was deflected last touch off of an Owl. 45-33. Still the 12-point margin here for Fort Lee. 3:15 left to go in the 4th. It's been a fun one here in this matchup between Big North's Fort Lee Bridgman and the NJIC's Park Ridge Owls. This was a smart matchup between these two teams that'll get them battle-hardened for their respective playoff runs. Again, Park Ridge right now is in position for one of the top 3 seeds in North 1 Group 1, while Fort Lee is in position for one of the top 4 seeds in North 2 Group 3. Lewis outlets it to Gill. Now Pagan in the corner. Back up top to Gill. Under 3 minutes left to go. Fort Lee trying to take a lot of time on this sustained offensive possession. Double team coming. They get it to Pagan. Pagan getting it down low to Perez. Perez will lay it in. Tic-tac-toe passing. Gill to Pagan to Perez. And that's a big bucket that extends the lead back to 14 and took a lot of time off the clock as well. Underneath to Abigail McManus. Ball movement. Shenlugian. Watched by Lewis. Shenlugian banks it high off the glass and in. 22 points now for Ali Shenlugian. 47-35. 2 minutes and change left to go. Lewis right down Broadway. Missed on the layup. And then the frustration foul trying to poke the ball away from behind, as that will be only the 3rd team foul against Fort Lee here in the second half. 2:09 left to go in the 4th. 12-point lead for Fort Lee. Can Park Ridge get it to single digits here with under 2 minutes left to go? That 3 would have done it. Pagan with a rebound. Handed it off to Hausman, and Hausman's going to get called for the travel. Pass needed to be a little quicker there, as Hausman had no chance to make the catch and then avoid the defender who was trying to win back the possession. That's going to be a timeout taken with 1:56 left to go here in the 4th quarter. Fort Lee trying to salt this one away. They are on top of Park Ridge by a score of 47-35. Out of the timeout, 1:56 left to go in the fourth quarter. Park Ridge, time running out here for the hopes of a comeback. Down by 12. They've trailed by as many as 19 here in the second half. Shenlugian has willed her team back in this one, but had that pass pinball around inside the lane, stolen away by Pagan and Fort Lee. Lewis showing off her dribbling exploits with the crossover dribble. Goes all the way to the far side, but could not get the left-hand layup to drop. Shenlugian now trying to go with the layup of her own, and both star players missing on layup attempts. Pagan with another rebound. Again, she has well over 10 rebounds in this game. Sophia has been so good at filling in as really the starting center here today, with Ellis Evazoglu not available for Fort Lee. That's the 17th foul, so it's going to send Catalina Gill to the line shooting 1-1. Pagan was highlighted as one of those players that just do the little things for her team in the record recently, and rightly so. She has done a great job this season. Her senior campaign has converted herself really from being a guard to a forward, and despite the height disadvantages, she has not been stopped for having her impact here in her senior season. Gill hits a pair of foul shots, 49-35. 1:15 and counting now left to go here in regulation. Fort Lee closing in on their 19th win of the season. That one is stripped away. Perez corners the loose ball possession. The Arrow will keep it here, though, with 1:04 left to go in the game. Lewis with 26 points in the game for Fort Lee. Sophia Pagan, 6 points and over 10 rebounds. Shenlugian. What a day here for Shenlugian, almost matching the point total of her counterpart Janelle Lewis. Shenlugian swishing home that three. She's got 25 points, and the lead is back to 11. Time out on the floor, 49-38, Fort Lee on top. And Park Ridge 12-10 on the season, but because they've played a very difficult schedule, they've been awarded plenty of power points against teams that have plenty of wins this season. That's why they were in position to challenge for one of the top 3 seeds right now in their group. Fort Lee 18 wins on the season, trying to pull themselves upwards in the rankings. Right now they would be the 4 seed. That would guarantee them with wins at least 2 home games this season. But if they get into the top 2, then they could get at least 3 home games and then have maybe a date in the sectional final awaiting them. 49-38, Fort Lee on top here of Park Ridge. Again, the leading scorers for both sides, Janelle Lewis with 26. Right behind her, Ali Shenlugian with 25. Park Ridge has outscored Fort Lee by 8 points in this fourth quarter. Try to make this one a game. Drop it into Lewis. Lewis skies high. Fort Lee doesn't need any more points, and Lewis knows that fact as she just is playing keep away. Gives it to Gill. Little contact there, but the official not calling anything, and now calls for the foul. Could have been initially called on that collision that ensued. That foul will once again send Catalina Gill to the line, shooting 1-1. Gill is 2 for 4 at the charity stripe here today. 6 points for the senior. Catalina had a season-high 22 points in a win against North Bergen this season. Missing on the front end of the 1-1. It's a big miss if you're Park Ridge. Now hope is still alive. Owls trying to get closer. Worked it around the perimeter. Precious seconds coming off the clock, though, as they're looking for Shenlugian. Fort Lee's defense daring someone else to take the shot, and they do. It's Mary Craffey missing on the 3. Lewis out on the open floor. Park Ridge looking to foul her. Little off balance there, forcing that layup. Missed layup gives again Shenlugian and Park Ridge a chance. That was halfway down. 3 rattled in and out. Rebound up top. Shot no good by Ashley McManus. Ball is loose inside. Hausman is fouled as she tries to track it down. And that will pretty much do it for Park Ridge's comeback attempt here with 9.7 seconds left to go. And Fort Lee in front by 11, 49-38. So Park Ridge will fall to 12-11 in this hard-fought matchup after today. And again, we'll head home to host the Crusaders of Elmwood Park. Olivia Hausman with 4 points in this game. She missed on the front end of the 1-1. Another shot. Shinlugian's shot is short. Pagan for good measure. Cherry on top with another rebound. And Fort Lee will be victorious by a final score of 49-38. So a valiant effort there in that fourth quarter for Park Ridge as the Owls produced 17 points in the quarter and held Fort Lee to only 9. But with the loss, Park Ridge will fall to 12-11 on the year. With the victory, Fort Lee will improve to 19-4 on the season and have a chance now next time out in league play to produce a 20-win season as they will next be in action on the 9th on the road at Dwight Morrow. They'll be back home here on February 14th on Valentine's. You can share Valentine's with us here as we'll be bringing you all the sights and sounds of that girls basketball game. Fort Lee taking on Ramsey here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. So again, the final score here from East Gymnasium, Fort Lee 49 and Park Ridge 38. For Dimitri Nennis, our producer, and our camera operator, Renee Matisich, I'm Dan Long saying so long from Fort Lee, and we'll see you next time.